Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Game Junk Podcast, episode 208, recording on Monday, September 30th, 2024. My name is Frank.
My name is Sean.
And my name is Andrew.
And we have an action-packed show for you today. We'll be going over all of the announcements in meticulous detail from Sony's State of Play for September 24th, 2024. And we'll be getting into our first impressions of The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom. Is that the right title? It feels weird every time I say it.
That is correct.
Okay, it's going to be divisive. Sean is already defending this game, which
Yep.
might be beyond defense. Okay, little tease there. Let's get into the State of Play. You guys have anything you need to mention or bring up before we get into the State of Play?
No.
Well, I mean, it was a big week. There's lots of other stuff, Tokyo Game Show, some other things, but I mean, nothing too crazy. This is definitely the big news, I think, State of Play.
Did anything major come out of Tokyo Game Show? I didn't hear anything.
I mean, there was the Microsoft showcase. They just had some stuff that dropped on Game Pass. There was trailers for a couple of games for, I don't know, things I'm not that familiar with, but some people seemed excited. There was Metal Gear Solid Delta trailer. What else? I don't know. There was a bunch of stuff, but nothing, like I said, nothing too crazy.
There was one game RPG that someone on our Discord posted about. Let me see if I could pull up the name of it, but it looked basically like an exact Chrono Trigger ripoff after looking into it a little more. But oh boy, does it look good.
Interesting. Okay. Well, let's get into the State of Play. It started with, I think, the director from Team Asobi, which created Astrobot, and saying there'll be new free DLC for 5 new speedrun levels that are coming later this year. They also showcased some adorable Hell Divers and Stellar Blade bots. We got to get those bot toys. They got to be coming soon. They're nuts if they don't make them. But kind of interesting. I don't know if this will be a recurring theme with new levels and a longer tail on this game. I doubt it. I feel like this is pretty much going to be it. But did you guys have anything you noticed about the new levels or anything you wanted to mention?
I mean, not too much to say. Just I guess it's cool that there is some DLC coming that soon. Obviously, it's not a huge, amount of new stuff, but yeah, I don't know. I'll be curious to see if they do kind of build on it. I mean, they could potentially, but
I mean, they even released DLC not DLC, extra content for the original version right before, or the one that came for free when you got a PlayStation 5, that had extra bots to find and stuff like that. So I feel like this is kind of Sony's cash cow right now, this and Helldivers. So I'm sure they're going to try to find more ways to monetize it, I would think.
Yep.
Okay. Next up, an previously unannounced game, The Midnight Walk, which is a game created all in how did they say it? Clay? Did they say clay?
It's like a claymation style, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know if they said it was in clay. It does say handcrafted in clay. I don't know if that means they like.
Okay. It's just,
yeah, I was looking at it right now.
Weird when I said it, but handcrafted in clay, and it was created by the developers of Lost and Random. It had a Lost and Random vibe for sure, and apparently playable just on PS5 and in PSVR 2 as well. It showed some footage. Seems like the game goes back and forth between third person and first person sections. But for an unannounced game, I thought it looked pretty compelling and certainly had a memorable art style.
For me, like the art style was the only thing that stood out really. And as soon as I said it's VR and regular, and it was third person and first person, I was a little worried for it, to be honest, just from like a game mechanic standpoint, that you start getting to some weird things there. I think unless it's all on rails, like the third person sections are kind of on rails or something. I don't know how they're going to pull that part off in VR. And
Like, well, speaking of Astrobot, it does it pretty well with the third person camera, but I agree, it is relatively on rails. Once a camera moves past a certain point, there's no going back. So,
okay, I didn't realize you could play Astrobot in VR.
well, there's one, what's it
The
called?
VR
Rescue Mission.
rescue
Specifically
missions.
for
Okay.
PS4.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
I think I tried that game. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's kind of interesting because I kind of thought maybe that's what they were going to do with the new Astrobot game was be like you can play it in VR or just flat screen or whatever you want to call it. And so I'm curious to see how it works. I don't know. Is it possible? I don't totally remember the trailer now. Is it possible that the first person is VR and the third person is not, or something like that? Or does it shift?
I can't imagine them doing that.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
Yeah, but
they could do it and just keep you in VR, but treat it like you're looking at a TV screen. So like it would still be supported in VR, but not be as immersive. Not sure how cool
right.
that would be though.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I do like the art style for sure. And although like it's weird, there I feel like there was a wave of like two or three kind of stop motion claymation type games, and then another one just came out this week called like Judero, and then they announced this one, and I'm like, man, they're still making them. So I guess it's a bit of a trend maybe right now, but.
Well, there's definitely a few of them. We'll see if one of them sells well. I don't have my doubts.
Yeah, the Harold Halibut one was a little underwhelming to me, but
Okay, next up, this was a surprise. I'm pretty sure this game had never been seen before. Hell is Us, which kind of felt like Control meets Death Stranding meets Returnal, third person action game. Looked really good. Looks like it's got some interesting ideas, but just for the record, this game, from what I can tell, is coming out to all platforms. This is not a Sony exclusive. So, looked pretty good.
Yeah, I think I also got major Death Stranding vibes when I was watching it. And I must say it looked okay. The third person action horror stuff is interesting, but I wasn't completely sold on it. But I thought for a second it was made by Torn Banner, but it doesn't look like it is. Rogue Factor.
Rogue Factor, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, it definitely has atmosphere, definitely has like intrigue of what's going on and everything like that. Sort of like World War II-esque setting, it seems like to me, sort of thing, with like, I don't know, some sort of twist. But
their previous games are like Mordheim, City of the Damned, and Necromunda. Mordheim sounds like vaguely familiar, but I might just be thinking I'm of Valheim. So, I mean, it seems like a big step up from their previous work. So, it would be pretty hard to ramp up to make, a modern AAA third person action game. So if they can pull it off, that's pretty impressive, but it definitely caught my eye.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it looked like something I'd be interested in. I thought the environments looked really cool and interesting, a little bit mysterious. So yeah, I'll be keeping an eye on this.
Oh yeah, I forgot about the drone thing. I guess it's not World War II. I don't know why I thought World War II. I guess because there was tanks showing. I just assumed World War II, but it has this weird like future tech meets weird environment kind of thing going on, and it is kind of interesting. But kind of rewatching it now, they don't really show much like enemy variety from what I could tell. It's mostly those weird white guys with the holes in their chest, and I guess that'll potentially be enough variety, but
It
I don't know.
does seem like a little bit more like environmental exploration and stuff,
Yeah.
which I kind of like, but I don't know. Yeah, like I'm reading one of the articles on the PlayStation blog about it, and they talk about kind of investigative challenges. So
It's coming out 2025, so we'll see if that happens, but we'll be seeing this game next year. Not crazy about the title. By the time I rewatched the State of Play, I already forgot what the title was for this game.
Yeah.
Is it just to have us in it, like Last of Us or something? It's not a great title. All right, next up, Metro Awakening VR, which we'd previously heard about. Getting a release date, November 7th. I believe that's new information. And looks like a Metro game in VR. I'm not that familiar with the series, haven't played that much, but I'm mildly intrigued. Sean, you're the visor guy. What are you saying?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'll be curious to check it out. I don't know if I'm going to buy it day one. We'll see. But yeah, I've only dabbled in the Metro franchise, so it does seem like one that could translate well to VR. So,
Sean, let me just confirm: you will be buying it day one. Just to make sure you knew that, because you were unsure.
well, it comes out. I think isn't that the same day as Behemoth or whatever that one's called?
Skydance's Behemoth.
I think. Is it 7th?
Behemoth.
Behemoth?
Behemoth?
I don't know.
Where'd you get Behemoth? Have you always said Behemoth?
I have said both many times and never.
This is from the guy who
what
says
is correct.
Frontiers.
I say that?
Yeah, you say Frontiers.
Oh, okay.
Never.
Never. I don't know. I think we got the tape.
Behemoth comes out November 14th, so it's 1 week later.
Okay. So you get to buy both day one. Perfect.
Yeah, right on time.
Any thoughts, Huck?
Nope.
All right. Next up, Archeage Chronicles. Is this a known game or a sequel to something? It seems like a brand new third-person action game that seems kind of rooted in like old fantasy. I don't know. I got a weird vibe from it. I didn't think it necessarily looked bad. I thought some of the creature design was interesting, but again, another third-person action game. From what I can tell, I believe this one is also coming to all platforms. It's not a PlayStation exclusive, and like it had an interesting part where when they were approaching a castle, it looked like, or a castle wall, the horse was riding on the path, and what seemed to be kind of a AA type game looks like it's attempting to flirt in AAA landscape. So I think the trailer was well constructed to at least give the illusion of a lot of variety or a large open world game, but I'll believe it when I see it. It looks okay though. It's not like blowing my mind or anything, but I see potential in it.
Yeah, this is definitely up my alley, I would say the most, and it definitely gave me Skyrim meets Witcher meets Dragon Age type vibes, and it looks surprisingly good. I don't know. Did you look up who it's by chance? I don't know if it's said.
XL Games.
XL Games. Okay, don't know who they are. Or Caracau Games.
This is their first official game that I can see. At least on Steam, it's their only game. And
okay, I mean,
don't quote me on this. This might have been a different game, but I thought it might be a Korean developer, a new Korean developer.
It could be. It could be. Yep, South Korean games.
There seems to be a lot of studios coming out of there now.
Yeah. Well, the other
that must be the publisher actually, but still.
The other thing about this that definitely feels like it's not that surprising that it's coming out of South Korea is that I believe it is an online, like I don't know if would we qualify as MMO, but like it's mentions epic large scale raids and cooperative gameplay. So maybe kind of like a Destiny type game or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Not a lot of that type of gameplay in the trailer we saw for sure. So again, this is landing in the potential good game territory so far. I'm not buying that though.
So interesting enough, I was just researching this publisher and XL Games, and the XL Games has made two games in the past, sorry. Moonlight Sculptor, which I've never heard of, which Yeah, I don't know anything about this game. Not much information. And then there is another game called Arc Age, which is an MMO, which I've also never heard of. And that one came out in 2021. So
I think they're mobile
not that long ago.
would be my
Mobile
guess.
games?
Yeah.
I don't know. It says this Arc Age game was made on CryEngine 3. And the initial development of the game began in 2006. So I mean it's pretty long development cycle. I mean 2006 to 2021, 15 years. It's a long time to be making an MMO. So they must have made some money off it, obviously. But I had never. Oh, and it sounds like they shut down the servers April of this year. Okay. So obviously maybe didn't do that good. But yeah, I'd never heard of it. Have you guys heard of this Arc Age game at all, or Moonlight Sculptor?
Nope.
No.
Yeah, okay. Interesting.
Okay, next up, Pal World dropping on PlayStation that day. I don't have a ton to say. Anyone have any thoughts? It's Pal World.
My only thought is, I wonder if Nintendo got a sniff of this, and is the reason why they dropped their lawsuit. I mean, not dropped. Why they put their lawsuit out there.
That was one of the theories I read, was that they hit them with the lawsuit right before this was going to be announced for PS5. I don't know if that means there's any chance that they're going to have some kind of injunction that it can't release on PS5. I haven't heard anything like that. So, but yeah, I mean, it's.
Yeah, I guess as a slight tangent, I listened to a podcast about the lawsuit, or about the papers that were served, and it was by a lawyer, and he was saying that the lawsuit is not about copyright infringement, so it's not about the characters looking like Pokemon. It's about patent infringement. But apparently in the papers, they don't actually explicitly state which patent it's infringing. So it's kind of like a mystery as to like what they're actually suing over still, even though they've put it before the courts and have said you're infringing on our stuff. So people are speculating, I guess, of what it could be, what thing, but it almost seems like Nintendo is intentionally not telling them so that they won't change it before it like really gets into the court process, because it must be something pretty minor. Well, I mean, that's me speculating. I would think it's something pretty minor, and they're just trying to like slow them down or scare them or something. But I don't know. You'd think if you were suing someone, you'd want to say what you're suing them for, not just generic patent infringement. And I guess maybe in Japan, you don't have to state it or something. I'm not sure. It might be something with Japan law that you don't actually have to state it.
Yeah, because otherwise, like it must be some to their advantage to not say, because like they can't prepare a defense or something. I don't know. It seems weird, but the thing I had heard, and again, this is like just huge speculation, but like that there's a patent on like throwing Pokeballs to catch Pokemon.
A 3D model in the 3D environment.
I think that could be maybe what they're suing them for. But yeah, like I think if they went after like the design of the characters or just the concept, it's like there's been so many Pokemon ripoffs. Like I don't know that you could justify that at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if anything throws a ball though.
Yeah.
Good point.
Ball throwing is
and I think they're technically in Pal World, I hear they're actually technically throwing a sphere, not a quote unquote ball. So, maybe that's how they're getting around it.
Yeah, there you go.
Ball doesn't have to be necessarily completely round. Basketballs have little ridges in them.
Ball drop.
That was gone.
Okay, next up, a kind of pleasant surprise for me, a series that I've always wanted to try out. Lunar Remastered Collection is coming next year with Lunar 1 and 2. Huck, did you play Lunar? Or are these?
I just played the Lunar Complete, which I think is Lunar 1 remake originally. I don't know. The naming of these games always confuses me. But I played like Lunar Silver Star Story Complete or something. I don't know. I loved it. I thought it was amazing. And
When did
I
you
had
play it?
played it maybe 10 years ago, 8 years ago, something like that. Like it was I'm pretty sure it was some sort of remake of something. I don't know what system it would have been on, but I
I think
really
it's
enjoyed it.
actually Sega CD and then on uh
PlayStation, maybe?
yeah.
Yeah. I feel like it was like some sort of PlayStation 2 game or something. But yeah, I really, really liked it. I don't know if I've ever played the second one, whatever that is, but I I really liked it. It was one of my favorite RPGs after I played it. So I would highly recommend this game if you like any sort of if I recall correctly, it's kind of like um turn-based battles, but I think it's a little more like Star Ocean, if I remember correctly. It's not quite purely turn-based. I could be remembering that completely wrong. I thought there was more like positioning involved with it, with the battles, but I could be wrong.
So this is developed by the original games were developed by Game Arts, and I was not aware they also developed the Grandia series as well. So
Oh, yeah.
kind of
The
makes sense
character,
now.
yeah, the characters kind of, I mean, the like cartoony lunar characters kind of resemble the cartoony characters of Grandia.
And they had a pretty strong affiliation with Sega, both games, so
Hmm.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Next up, Shredder's Revenge, getting some new characters and a remix soundtrack. I'm gonna leave that one. Keanu Reeves will join the voice cast of Sonic X Shadow Generations. Gotta have Keanu. Everyone loves. I only have one question. Do you think Keanu Reeves has said no to anything in his life? I don't mean that in like a greedy way. I think he just like people say, "Hey, do you want to do this for us?" You're like, "Yeah, sure, I'll do that." I think he just says yes to everything,
He's a
which
yes
is a
man.
philosophy to live by.
Hmm.
Do we have any record in the history of popular culture of Keanu Reeves turning down something?
I don't
We
know.
should
I
find that
mean,
out.
Being a bassist in a band.
I keep hearing he wants to do Constantine too. I mean, this guy just will not say no.
I'm just curious. That's all.
Is he like a voice in? Oh, he is the voice of Shadow in the movie. So
Yeah.
that's why that, okay. I didn't,
And it's
I was
just a
like,
few special levels that feature his voice based on the movie.
gotcha.
And honestly, I think it's an interesting philosophy of life. The yes to everything. You can't be blamed for anything. Well, it's not my fault. I say yes to everything. I might start doing it. It's not my fault. I changed my philosophy. Yes to everything. Okay. Next, another weird game. Like does not feel like a PlayStation 5 game. Fantasia Neo Dimension, December 5th. And it's not really a PlayStation 5 game. It's been on mobile before, correct, gentlemen?
Correct.
If that's the one, then yes.
And they had a little like describing it was video with the one of the designers describing what makes the battle system unique, and I don't remember a single thing from it. So I was totally checked out. Sorry, Fantasia Neo Dimension.
Oh, but this is the one where the art style is kind of like looks like a diorama kind of thing,
It
right?
has like I think they said 150 unique like dioramas. But I got to be honest, the one diorama that was kind of a cliffside or the like looking down at a forest, I think, or something like that, that looked okay. The rest of them did not look all that impressive. So it would be interesting for someone to take like the Final Fantasy VII approach and like do hyper detailed HD environments, like in with modern art techniques. I think that some game is going to do that at some point or has already, and I'm unaware of it.
Yeah.
Um, Next up, Dragon Age: The Veilguard, a game we've heard a lot of, and I've seen in many showcases. This we got a full kind of battle against a dragon.
Mhm.
Hawk, you feel? I feel like you're the Dragon Age guy. What do you think of that battle?
I actually thought the battle looked okay. Like it was better than I thought it was going to be, to be honest. I wouldn't say I'm 100% sold on this new Dragon Age game, given BioWare's recent trend of games, but I'm interested now. I don't think I was interested before. It still doesn't feel like Dragon Age to me. Like this made it feel a little more, um, closer to like Dragon's Dogma or something.
I don't know. I thought they kind of turned Dragon Age into Mass Effect when they brought up the wheel at the one point. It was very similar to the.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty Dragon Age 2. I mean, like the original Dragon Age had the same sort of concept of like stopping time and choosing your. I mean, it was more about tactics, the original Dragon Age, but that's been in Dragon Age for a while.
It was
wasn't.
Top Down before, wasn't it?
Dragon Age,
Yeah.
the original Dragon Age. No.
No.
You could kind of have different perspectives. Like you could play, I think, either
No, but when
top
it
down.
froze the game, didn't it like present it like as you're saying
maybe.
tactical stuff?
Yeah, in Dragon Age 1 and Dragon Age 2, I think they got rid of all that stuff and just went
Yeah,
pure
I guess
action.
I don't remember what it did in
And in Inquisition, I think it was just like a wheel like this where you pick a power or whatever. I don't know. Inquisition was so long ago, I don't even really remember too much about it. And I don't know.
The same way as Huck, almost identical to the word. Had zero interest in this game. This kind of live battle made me marginally interested, and I think I might pick it up.
Definitely going to library it.
It's weird because like I keep forgetting this game's even coming out, and like I don't know if that's just like I've never played any of the Dragon Age games. Although seeing this, I'm like, oh, maybe this is the one I check out. But I just feel like there's not a lot of hype for it. Am I wrong, or am I just not paying attention?
I feel the same. Like especially since it comes out in a month, like October 31st.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. I thought they would like with the Halloween release date, you'd think they would lean into something more scary about it. I don't know if the dragon is supposed to be scary or that weird witch lady or whatever demon summoner necromancer lady at the end they have, but I don't know. It feels like there should be more Halloween vibes releasing on Halloween of scariness or something. Also, I made a note that the voice acting was brutal in the intro. I don't know if anyone else found that, but
don't really remember.
Questionable voice acting. Maybe over the top acting is probably a better description.
Sean, are you in? Are you buying Dragon Age?
It's a wait and see for this one, but I'm kind of curious.
I would love to see if Nintendo was releasing this game and EA was releasing Echoes of Wisdom, what the sentiment would be in the world. That's what I want. Okay, next up, Hitman World of Assassination, which was already in VR on PSVR 1, is coming to PSVR 2 in December. Sean, did you play this ever?
I think you missed one as well.
What did I miss?
Alan Wake 2.
The Wake Mob. I do not upset the Wake Mob. Oh, no. I got a little ahead of myself. Apologies.
Yeah. Holy shit.
Come after me.
They are, for sure.
Alan Wake 2 DLC, The Lake House, coming in October. Okay, moving on. Sean.
Yeah, I did play a little bit of it. Not as much as I thought I would. So now I'm like, oh, maybe I gotta buy it again. I don't know. I've heard that like a lot of people really liked the VR aspect of it when it came out, at least for Hitman 3. I think they did eventually put all of 1 and 2 in VR as well. So I don't know. Yeah, I kind of want to check it out. It's just like so far down on my list of stuff right now that I don't know if I'll do it anytime soon.
You should make a video playing this game, put on a suit and gloves. You are Hitman, dude.
That's a good idea.
Maybe.
You got to live it. When you look in a mirror, it'll fucking blow your mind in the game.
He won't know what's reality, man.
Exactly. You might have to sleep on my couch after he plays that game. Next up, Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver 1 and 2 Remaster, 25th anniversary, coming December 10th. I've never played a Soul Reaver game. Anyone fond of this franchise? I'm curious.
I recall playing the first one extremely briefly and not getting hooked on it. I think it had some control issues, like some other typical, early PS2 games and stuff like that. So I am interested only because there's obviously a huge following for this game because it seems to always be talked about. But I don't have a history with it at all. And also, like Legacy of Kain just came to PS Plus or PS Extra or something like that.
Yeah, it's coming up.
Blood Omen.
Oh, might as well
Legacy
do
of
it
Kain.
now.
Okay.
Legacy of Kain Blood Omen, developed by Silicon Knights, where we worked, and Dino Crisis, a game people have wanted for a long time, coming to PlayStation. I did not check to see if Legacy of Kain has trophies. If it does,
Yeah, I mean,
I might have to play it. Oh,
it was
nothing yet.
obviously developed like, a few years before we were there, and I have never played the game. So I've always meant to
I
actually
know.
play Blood Omen, but yeah, like the Soul Reaver ones, I'm a little bit curious about too, because like you said, like they just seem to have a lot of fans. They've been around forever.
I believe Amy Hennig wrote on Soul Reaver.
Yeah.
And I think Blood
That's cool.
Omen.
Oh, really?
I thought so.
Definitely on Legacy of Kain and
Mhm.
and Soul Reaver 1. Yeah. Oh, and Soul Reaver 2. So I'm definitely curious. She
Mhm.
also worked on Michael Jordan Chaos in the Windy City. It says on this Google search. So
We might have to get that game
she was the
next.
designer. I have it right back there, dude. Just became very excited about owning this game. Okay. Where the hell? Oh no, there we go. I'm interested in playing the Soul Reaver games. There's just too much stuff this year. It just feels like something that's going to get lost in the shuffle again. But who knows? I had a lot of fun playing Beyond Good and Evil again, and I'm kind of have a soft spot for these PS2 era game remasters right now. So we'll see. They're usually a reasonable length and kind of fun. Next up, just a reminder, Fear the Spotlight, the Polygon horror game from Blumhouse Games, releasing on October 22nd. This game's going to need some really high review scores for me to check it out. What are you guys thinking?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of interested, but then did we talk about this? I think I was looking up stuff on this, and like the game had already come out last year, and then I guess Blumhouse came in and put their name on it, and now it's being re-released.
Really?
I think so.
I
Something
did
like
not
that.
know about this.
Unless it
Yeah,
was
no.
like maybe it was just like an early access thing, but if you look on Steam, the release date says 2023. So I'm not sure exactly how that all came about.
Is it still there? Did it get pulled?
No, it's still there. But I don't know. Maybe they pulled it off and then they added some stuff to the game and then re-released it. I don't know. Like I had never heard of it until it was part of that Blumhouse announcement at Summer Game Fest, I guess.
Weird. We did not talk about that. That is news to me.
Mhm.
Very gross to me. Next up, Towers of Agazba, which is like a fantasy Animal Crossing, but with more of like a photorealistic look to it, and building these towns and gardens and ocean gardens, and you can visit other gardens. It's coming to early access on PlayStation in November. Visually pretty impressive, but I doubt it's a game I'll be playing.
Is this the first early access game on PlayStation?
I can't remember another.
Yeah, I didn't think they did early access.
That was my gut reaction as well.
Yeah, it kind of for some reason I got like almost like Avatar vibes, like just from like the vibe of the world and stuff. And also just like, Zelda hang gliding and all that stuff. But I don't know, nothing in this trailer really grabbed me and said, "Yes, I want to play this game." I thought it looked nice. I thought some of the creatures looked interesting and it definitely looked really good. But I don't know what exactly to do in it. I like the art style.
Sean,
Yeah,
your
same.
name.
The art style is cool, but it seems like it's more of like a sim building, crafting game,
Mhm.
which probably isn't my thing.
All right, Lego Fortnite split screen mode coming and a new DualSense controller.
Pre-order?
I did not. Uh,
What?
I'll mention I did try to pre-order the PlayStation 30th anniversary stuff, including a PS5 Pro, but I was unable to get one. Not surprisingly,
Mm.
they were sold out very quickly, and I got there a little late, which matches my interest level. If it didn't have the 30th anniversary edition, I would not have pre-ordered. But we'll talk about that in a bit. Dynasty Warriors Origins release date January 17th. We'd seen this game before. Nothing really changed in my mind about it. It's a Dynasty Warriors game.
Yeah, I'm kind of interesting just because I don't think I've ever played a Dynasty Warriors game, and there's so many of them. It's kind of like Yakuza. I feel like I should play one because there's so many. Obviously, people buy it and like it. So I don't know. I'm like kind of interested in trying this one. It's kind of like how I tried Yakuza Zero as like the first Yakuza game I tried, and I loved it. And this is kind of like the origins of Dynasty Warriors, so it feels like a good starting place for me, I guess, as well.
It's interesting you mentioned that because I feel like the name is there because anytime I would see a Dynasty Warriors game with like a number like 7, 8, or 9 beside it, I'm like, oh,
Yeah,
they want
No
to
way.
enter the eighth entry in a series. So the naming is at least, I think, some smart branding to pull new audiences into the game.
Mhm.
yeah. This is the Yakuza Zero of Dynasty Warriors, probably.
But play Hyrule Warriors, Huck. Get some Nintendo.
Yeah,
No,
it's a good call.
I don't think so.
No,
No, no.
you guys both hate Zelda.
I got to go back to the
Jeez.
origins. The origins. If I'm going to start, I got to go back to the origins.
Next
Fair
up, I'm so sick of talking about this game, Monster
Mhm.
Hunter Wilds, but we have a release date, February 28th. As much as I'm sick of talking about it, the new monster battle they showcased looked amazing. Like this game looks awesome. And
Mhm.
one thing I notice in all the footage we've seen so far, I did not go to the Capcom online program from TGS, but there is no HUD on there at all. And when I think of Monster Hunter games, I think of lots of numbers and HUD and stats that just detract from my experience playing these games. So I have a feeling it's not going to look and feel quite the same when you actually play this game.
Probably not.
But
Maybe they give you the option to turn it on.
yeah,
turn it
I
on.
just it those monsters look really good. So this is Dax's most anticipated game possibly of all time.
Really.
He's played Monster Hunter World for the last year. It's all he plays and a bit of COD.
See, but that's the thing. Like, if I had a couple friends that were really into it, that were like trying to get me into it, I'd be like, oh, okay, maybe I'll check this out. But like, if I don't, it's just
well, you're going to have a couple friends, so you are required to buy it. And I'm
when I
trying.
when I was on my work trip, there was a couple guys that were playing it on their Switch, the Monster Hunter World or whatever. So
Rise on the Switch, I think.
oh, Rise, yeah, that's right, that's the one they were playing. Yeah, so I mean, they they were into it, they're loving it. So it's obviously an exciting game, but this game does look good. But I've never been able to get into a Monster Hunter game myself.
Next up, Lego Horizon Adventures with a launch date of November 14th. We've heard about this before, but that's not all. Then an announcement I willed into existence or played into existence by literally just replaying Horizon Zero Dawn. And just after I complete it, we get Horizon Zero Dawn Remastered coming October 31st. And I don't know if it's going to auto pop or not, but I kind of want to play through the whole game again. Like I did, I did a speed run on
Forbidden
ultra
West is never going to happen.
on ultra hard, and I'll just tell you right now, if this has an auto pop, I'm going to auto pop. But I want to play through it again and just take my time. I just don't have the time. There's too many other games, but I love Horizon Zero Dawn, and a lot of people, when I saw this got leaked, were pretty pissed that it's getting a remastered treatment already. But I thought, having just played it, noticeable fidelity differences in the footage I saw. Especially young Aloy doesn't look like a freak anymore.
Well, yeah, that was like the first image
That's
I
part
think
of the
in the
charm.
trailer. I was like,
Part of the
okay,
charm.
that's what they're selling this on. But yeah, I mean, it's I still I have to go back to Forbidden West, so I don't know if I would jump into this. But you did mention the Frozen Wilds DLC, Frank. So if there was a way to just kind of like jump straight into that, maybe I would do that. But I don't know.
I'm guessing they didn't say it in the presentation, but maybe they'll have like save data crossover. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know if I guess sometimes they do that, right? It depends, but maybe.
Yeah, I don't think they did for Last of Us Part 1. I replayed all of Last of Us Part 1, so we shall see. I'm kind of hoping they don't have an auto pop, so I have an excuse to play it again. Next up, Stellar Blade getting photo mode soundtrack on streaming services, but most importantly, a Nier Automata crossover DLC coming later this year with like actual new gameplay. Seems like kind of a big announcement.
Seems like a good fit from what I know.
I can't believe it. Like if I was working on Nier Automata, I'd be like, no, you already copied our game. I'm not going to let you. Maybe the opposite. Maybe you've already stolen it. We might as well get some money out of this at the very least.
Yeah.
Stealing our vibe. New Chroma PlayStation. What do you call these things? Why can't I think of what they're called? Base plates or covers and controllers. I want that teal one bad. That is just all my stuff in my living room is that color. So I need to see it in the wild. See how that teal looks. If it's more green or blue, but they might have got me on the chroma.
Teal haze.
Yeah,
teal haze.
PlayStation 5 Pro update. Just more games, a couple more games. I think Rebirth is a new one that was announced, and Metal Gear Solid Delta were the big new ones, and a few others in there. But I kind of want to buy one now. Like I'm getting the itch. The blue
like you're gonna get it. Just don't even pretend.
I'm not just gonna buy it straight up, like at a Best Buy or something like that. I mean, I still have to finish Rebirth, so I feel like it should.
Why not
be on a PS5 Pro?
The way it was meant to be played.
I mean, the one thing I'm curious about, like I was talking to somebody at work about this, like they are gonna have trade-in deals, obviously, at like GameStop and stuff like that. I don't know what kind of deal, like it sounded like what they were telling me sounded like it was a much better deal than I would have expected. Like, because the price difference between PS5 and PS5 Pro is pretty huge, but I can't remember what they said, but I feel like it was like $400 or $500 with the trade-in. And I was like, how does that make any sense? But I don't know.
I'm looking to see if it's on here right now.
If I saw something like that, I might be tempted.
You realize you'd still have to pay another $500.
No, I know, but I just like I would have thought that the trade-in value of like a PS5 would not be. It would be like $200 or $300.
Huck, you getting a PS5 Pro? You have to, right? You can use it as
definitely not. No.
You gotta like be able to port to PS5 Pro. You need one of these, dude.
No, definitely not.
Okay. And lastly, the major announcement of the showcase: Ghosts of Yotei or Yotai.
Ho! Hang on, we forgot the best part of the PS5 Pro announcement. Seeing Mark Cerny out there. And let me tell you, every time I see this guy, he is merging with Dana Carvey. They are one. They are the same person. I had to double check that they weren't long lost brothers. It appears that they are not, but I don't know about that. That's all I have to say.
Definitely some similarities. All right. Ghosts of Yotei. Is it Yotei or Yotai? Sean, do you know?
I think it's Yote, but
Gotcha. And this is the sequel to Ghost of Tsushima, and I love the idea of like renaming and doing a new character rather like tell a complete story each time and maybe change the location and the vibe of the game a bit. So I mean, it's what you'd expect. It's a sequel to Ghost of Tsushima, but I love the rebranding and the direction they're taking with the sequel.
Mhm.
yeah, I mean the Western vibe is kind of unexpected. I mean, it makes sense, and I guess based on the time period, I don't know too much about what was going on in Japan in that time period, but apparently, yeah, that's the thing. So, uh, yeah, I thought it looked great. I mean, I was a big fan of Ghost of Tsushima, so I'm very excited.
Plus, it had animals. That wolf, oh boy,
Oh, yeah. Wolf
look
looked
out.
good.
And seeing like Mount Fuji, like so prominently featured, it's really cool. Really cool. At least I think it's Mount Fuji. Um, yeah, I thought it looked really cool, though. I don't, was there any gameplay other than the horse riding? Like, did they show combat or was it all CG? It's kind of hard to tell because the game looks so damn good.
I got the vibe everything was in engine, but I could be wrong. Or mostly
Yeah.
engine.
Yeah. I guess there are some like walking scenes and stuff, but I guess it could have been.
And I guess the bigger part of the news, possibly, is that it's releasing in 2025. So
Yeah.
complaints
Yeah.
about where are the AAA Sony titles, I'd say this is a pretty big one to be getting within a year.
Are
Yeah.
we, speaking of AAA titles, are we surprised that they're launching PS5 Pro with nothing really new? I mean, of all the games they highlighted in that little like sizzle reel, I think the only like quote unquote new games that are coming out were Dragon Age Veilguard and Assassin's Creed Shadows. I think everything else was just old games bumped up. I like it just seemed weird to
Like
be
it's
launching hardware
Yeah,
with nothing that pops, really, that's like newer.
Metal Gear Solid Delta was in there too, but again,
Oh, right, yeah.
those are future games. But I don't think they'd want to do that, to be honest. Like I think that especially when people are deciding what console to buy, gives the impression that, oh, I can only play it with that, where they don't want that. They want it to be like a luxury item or for those that really care. I think they're worried about scaring off, oh, I shouldn't buy either of these, or I'll just get an Xbox. It's simpler and it'll play everything. So, or especially
Yeah.
parents sometimes too for kids. So
Yeah, that's true. Don't want to run into a Wii U situation.
exactly. But I gotta say, I do have the itch. I do have the itch to get this. I doubt it's going to happen. Please, Shoppers Drug Mart, please get these in soon, or at least pre-orders for them. Then we're all good. It would be great if. Oh no, there's a promotion at Shoppers on Tuesday with you get double your reward points.
Oh
Double.
boy.
If you spend 300,000 points, you get $600, but it has to be in store.
Ooh,
of
the
course.
twist.
Oh, dude, that's still pretty good.
Yeah.
So should we just quickly touch on the Assassin's Creed delay?
Sean, you're dying to go for it.
Well, it's just interesting because it was supposed to come out in November and they were supposed to show it at Tokyo Game Show, I believe. I think that's where they were going to show
I think
it.
that's right. Yep.
And then the demo, I guess, got pulled. And then like a day later, they announced, yeah, we're delaying it. And so now it's going to come out the same year as Ghosts of Yotei. So, I mean, there's going to be a comparison there. I don't think they gave a date yet. So, I mean, you might think Assassin's Creed would be earlier in the year, the other one would be later in the year, probably. Yeah. But the thing with the whole delay that I was kind of surprised about is they basically came out and said Star Wars Outlaws has not sold as well as we thought it would, and that's why we're delaying it. Like what does that mean? I guess
implying that of the quality level that it doesn't feel like a next gen game at times,
or that there were bugs and stuff like that, and so they want to make sure that this game is solid and doesn't launch with any issues like that. But I don't know, like there's definitely an issue at Ubisoft right now where like they are struggling to get people excited about their games. It feels like things come out and people are just like, oh, it's another Ubisoft game. And I would have thought Assassin's Creed is still that franchise that no matter what, people are going to buy it and be excited about it. And I know there was some, controversy and stuff over it. I certainly hope that wasn't a part of the delay, but um, yeah, I don't know.
Kind of was but Yves addressed kind of stuff about that in his letter.
That's true. He did say like something about, oh, we only want to entertain people. We don't want to have a political stance.
We don't have an agenda.
Yeah, like okay.
That was to the investors that he wrote that letter to. I'm pretty sure. Either way, guess what, Ubi? You're the new EA. Let's see how you like it now. Everyone's going to tear things apart for no reason, find the worst things about whatever you do, and you're just the next in line. Hopefully, Nintendo's next. Nintendo deserves this treatment. They were so close to getting it recently.
Will never happen. But the other thing is they said Assassin's Creed Shadows is going to launch on Steam day one. And that was another big thing where maybe they thought Star Wars Outlaws didn't sell as well because people were like, well, we don't want to buy it on the Ubisoft service or whatever it is. We want it on Steam. So I don't know, which could be true.
If you want to make some quick cash Yves, for your shareholders, just add achievements to your Steam games. You'll sell a lot of copies really quick.
Yep.
All right. Time for our letter grades.
Oof. Right.
People seem to hate this. On the Discord, people thought this was a complete turd, an utter debacle.
Well, it wasn't great, but Ghosts of Yotei is pretty amazing. So that kind of saves it right there. And a couple of the early games I was excited for, like yeah. So
I like for Lunar 2, Lunar 1 and 2 remaster. Zero Dawn remaster is like literally my dream come
Legacy of Kain and what's the other one? Soul Reaver remastered. Huge. All old games. Look at all these amazing old games that we get to play.
If you're going to punish them for anything, in my opinion, it's that the interesting kind of third-party action games are getting a little overdone, and they're not exclusives except for Ghost of Tsushima.
Yeah,
or Ghost.
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking like a C+ for me.
Well, I got that Blue Haze. I'm giving it a B-.
It's pretty close to C+. I'm also going to give it a C+. Ghost of Yotei saved it for sure. I did like the Dynasty Warriors Origins and the Archeage Chronicles, but yeah, I mean when like remaster games like Lunar and Legacy of Kain, Soul Reaver are like, in your top 5, it's not a good showcase in my opinion.
It's better than almost every Nintendo Direct of recent memory, so that's what I'm judging.
That's true. Fair enough. I don't think we've been very favorable to Nintendo Directs though.
Well, I mean, we all know they're saving that Switch 2 announcement, so I mean, it's been slim pickings, I think. But let's get into the Nintendo hate, Frank.
Let's get into Echoes of Wisdom. You guys can go first. You guys dig your own graves, and then I'll come in.
Okay. I guess I can start. This is probably the best bed stacking simulator I've ever played. I'll say that right up front. I do love the art style of this game. I really like the Link's Awakening art style. It's basically the same. I think it's great. I think it fits well. I think it's sort of like a next gen quote unquote upgrade from Link to the Past art style. So I do like the perspective. I like the art style. I like how it plays in that perspective.
I also like classic Zelda perspective.
Yes. Yeah. I think that there are a lot of things to scan, or however you learn whatever we're doing here with this wand, and then spawn. And I like the currency to spawn things mechanic of it, how you have these limited resources. You start with 3, you can get 4, where I am anyways, and then each thing you spawn takes up 1 to 3 of these little, what, I don't know, triangles, triforce pieces, whatever we're going to call them. I don't know. And I do like that. There is some strategy there that you need to take advantage of. I like that there is different things you can spawn to attack with. Now, it is not as satisfying as, swinging the sword yourself or casting the magic. And I know Frank and I were talking before how there is some frustrating pathfinding of the things you spawn, and they seem very dumb. Now, I don't know if that's on purpose, and later you're going to get smarter things that know how to track enemies better. But also, I'm starting to run into the thing where I was worried about with this game, where you learn so much stuff and there's so much stuff you don't use that all of a sudden you're just overwhelmed with choices, and there's stuff you never look at, and all your lists are just flooded with crap. The good thing is that when you pull up the things you can spawn, it's in like last used order. So the stuff you use the most is right at the front of the list, which is nice. Whereas, if it was a set order, it'd be super frustrating to find everything. But I'm going to disagree with Frank, one of Frank's points. I think the combat is kind of interesting at times because of the different things you need to spawn to defeat different things, different enemies. And I think it does make you kind of keep thinking while you're playing. And the dungeons, I'm probably about, I don't know, 2.5 hours or 3 hours in, and the dungeons are not too long. So I don't get kind of bogged down with fighting the same things over and over again. So, by the time I move on to the next area, I'm facing new enemies and having to come up with new strategies. So I'm finding it pretty paced well so far with how you go about fighting the enemies and running into new enemies. And I guess that's all my thoughts for now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm enjoying the game. I think, I'm probably about 4 or 5 hours in. And when Frank was talking last week or the week before, he's been bringing up the bed stacking thing a lot. And I was like, okay, like it's in a lot of the trailers, but like I'm sure there's more to do. And you do use the bed a lot more than I thought, but I don't mind it. It's actually kind of fun because the whole thing is the bed is very versatile because you can kind of build it out as a bridge, or you can kind of build it up as a staircase.
Do you get to stack more beds? That makes it fun. It's fun because you get to stack more of them. It's literally
because there's more uses for it.
It's so boring. And not
boring. Sorry. It's just like, it's a way of getting through the environment. Like you got to figure out how to climb up something. Well, there's different things you can stack, and it's not always beds, but they are used a lot.
Beds are the only one that's really useful, because if you stack tables, you have to alternate back and forth to climb to get any distance or horizontal chain. It's so bad. It is so bad.
But you can rest in them and regain health if you wait 20 minutes.
Oh, so if the bed if you were able to say like, "Ooh, this bed is also a springy mattress, and now I can jump with it instead of getting a trampoline," which when I get the trampoline, I'm like, oh, thank God I have a trampoline. And half of the stuff is too high for the trampoline. So it gets used very seldomly. Anyway, sorry, Sean, finish. I'm gonna go.
I mean, like I have been, there've been puzzles where I've had to use combinations, not just the bed. I've had to use like the plant thing because it's a little bit higher, and like there were some tricky, interesting puzzles with it. But generally, it's just like a throw it down to get up to something, and I don't really think about it, and it's fine. You also can jump in this game, which is kind of rare for Zelda games. Most Zelda games, you can't hit a button to actually jump. But so the point that you brought up, though, that did have me a little worried was, about using enemies to fight for you. I was like, yeah, I don't know. Will that be boring? Will that not be fun? And I'm actually enjoying it because I think that you can, like Huck was saying, there is strategy. Sometimes you're like, okay, what works good against this enemy? And you could spam it. You don't have to, like, I know what you're saying about the pathfinding issues. Sometimes they go off, but you can just sit there and spam it and like shoot one enemy over and over at somebody and it works. Like it, depending on what kind of enemy it is. Like I love planting the Octoroks all around them, and it's like they try to take one out, but then there's like two behind them, and they don't know where to look. Like I don't know, it's actually pretty fun. So that hasn't really been an issue for me.
The strategy 70% of the time is same enemy on same enemy. Especially Sean, in the first dungeon, it's all the.
I don't think I've ever done that, to be honest with you. Maybe that works.
How did you beat the axe guys? How did you beat the axe guys then, without using another axe guy on them?
My favorite thing to use is the rolling guys because you can just shoot them in a straight line. I use them all the time on everything.
It's the pathfinding is so bad on the enemies. Not to mention, there's nothing more frustrating than spawning an enemy and then it dying, and then just, oh, I guess I just spawn the same enemy again while I run around and wait for them to kill things. I know you can target enemies, but like all this game does is add indirection to things you normally do in games. And that indirection is only fun in one scenario, which you both pointed out, which is when it's a puzzle. The first time you go against a fire enemy and you're like, none of these enemies work. I need to use something else. And you realize, oh, I'll use the spike enemy. All right. That is interesting. I will concede that. But once you solve that puzzle once, doing it again becomes a chore. Now I have to go through a list of things to find the enemy that solves that puzzle. You've taken any like interesting puzzle solving mechanics. When you've solved a puzzle once, it's not fun to solve it again. It becomes a complete chore to resolve a puzzle you've already solved.
How is that different than any other like action combat game with enemies with specific mechanics? Is it just because you have to do this laborious like choosing of your spawn thing to spawn, or
normal action games require physical coordination? They're not puzzle solving. You have to look for timing, pattern recognition. You have to be engaged in the combat, not running around and avoiding things and dropping them somewhere else. That's what action games are. So I will accept if this was a puzzle game, it wouldn't be bad. But another thing you can do, I go in a dungeon and I realize once I get the map, I missed a treasure chest somewhere. So in order to backtrack to that treasure chest, I have to do the bed stacking to get to the treasure, the bed stacking again to get out of it, or spawn the spiders that I grab the ropes on. I have to do the same thing twice back to back, and it's a trivial exercise. It is not fun. The first time I did it and I figured out, oh, I can climb the spider's ropes. That's interesting. That's a moment of mild eureka for the player. To do it again immediately after, and it becomes a chore to do it every time. That is not good. As a puzzle game, I would say it's a 9 out of 10. As an action game, it's a 5 out of 10. And you merge those together, this game is a 7 out of 10. At best.
But why can't it just be a puzzle game? Why does it have to be an action game?
Because you don't solve puzzles, the same puzzle over and over again in a puzzle game. You add to it. You change things about it. I'm solving the same puzzles over and over again. When you fight an enemy, no, you don't.
I don't think so. It's different combinations of enemies every time. There's different terrain. Like it's different. It's not like...
The only other, and I'll give credit where it's due. The other interesting puzzle mechanic is the bind, but oh my god, the bind! I had to use these like back and forth platforms and try to get across, and it's the most cumbersome platforming I've ever done in a game. And to say that that's fun. You're poisoned by Nintendo and Zelda. It's got to stop. Not you, everyone. This isn't directed at Sean. This is directed at every journalist. To not call out the faults of this game is absolutely insane to me. And I know it's got Nintendo charm. It's got Nintendo polish. I'd never argue that, but it is not fun. The pathfinding for enemies, not just the things you spawn, but the enemies you fight, they end up taking a step back and going on top of rocks and like places they should never be to begin with. Like
the game has more verticality than most of the kind of like overhead Zelda games, which is kind of interesting. Like it's different, but that's the whole thing. It's a different take. Like I kind of just I like it. I don't love it. It's certainly not, like at the level of like a Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom for me, but it does have a lot of the same, like I think they were certainly inspired by some of the Tears of the Kingdom stuff. And I do have some of those same moments where it's like I'm bringing out things that I'm like, will this work? And then it works. And I'm like, oh, I didn't expect that to work. I don't even feel like that's what they intended, but that's kind of cool that that worked. So,
I mean, you're further than I am. I've had very few moments. To be fair, I'm in the intro stuff, so it's teaching you mechanics. So let me guess. The fire guy goes in the torch holder. Big deal. What a puzzle. The most inventive puzzles I've had so far are where the tether for the bind, you have to like navigate like Y space and like get stuck on something to get the correct distances to land on things. But I mean, that's only going to be inventive for so long. I feel like that trick, I've seen that trick. How many levels of reusing that trick will there be? I'm not sure. And to be honest, I'm not sure if I'll see them because I don't think I'm going to be playing much more of this game. A wasted voucher. I knew it was a wasted voucher, but sometimes you have to waste a voucher to be able to weigh in on a game that people are just we'll see. If Sean says you got to play it, it gets really good, I'll think about it. But mild spoiler coming, probably getting towards the end of the show. Very mild spoiler, something in the first hour. This game starts you with a sword and shield. You start as Link. And I'm like, my God, I love classic Zelda. And like, this is so much fun. And what do? You take it away. And oh, I forgot to say how difficult it is to aim where things spawn sometimes, and not being able to articulate exactly where you want something to spawn. Half of the time, sorry to stay on the bed stacking so much, but even bed stacking becomes a chore because I'm like, okay, I got to make sure I'm standing near the pillow of the bed. Otherwise, I'm going to spawn off of it and I'm going to have to do it all over again. It's not even like a fluid motion to spawn things. It's cumbersome and annoying.
I mean, I agree with you there, but like, you can just keep trying. It's not like you're penalized. You can just move a little bit and respawn. But the one thing that is weird
on that point, the point of control schemes is to like have what you're thinking and want to do in a game translate immediately to the controls. It's not to keep trying. If a puzzle is, conceptually figure out what I'm supposed to do. If I figure out what to do and the controls are stopping me from doing it, that's not a charm of the game. That's a failure of the game.
I mean, yeah, but we're talking like it's stopping you for 3 seconds. Like it's not that big of a deal.
It's not my fault. It's not my fault. It should be. I know,
but
not
like
the gamer's
sometimes
fault. It's the game's fault.
I guess. But like the one thing I will agree with you that is weird is a lot of times when you're using the, whatever you're trying to spawn, you're usually trying to aim it at something very specific right in front of you. And if you're right up against that thing, it usually won't spawn because it can't spawn on that square. So then you got to back up a little bit, turn around, come back.
That's a ton of fun. And heaven forbid you're stacking multiple things and then the one at the bottom erases itself. And then I might as well just get rid of them all and start over.
That's the strategy.
Yeah, it's so much fun. You're like describing the most fun. And oh, sorry, I forgot the most important part. I would even be okay with some of this bed stacking backtracking. But there's a crazy design invention in video games. It's called shortcuts. You solve a puzzle once, drop something like a ladder or a block. So next time you don't have to do that cumbersome thing again. I have yet to encounter a scenario where the game says, you know what, the player figured this out. Let's give him a shortcut to do this rather than do the same thing every time they want to do this. And
there are waypoints all over the map, by the way. Like you can teleport around quite a bit. So if you kind of get past something, you need to go back to the other side. Usually you could just teleport.
I'm talking about jumping from a platform to another platform, and I have to do the same thing to get across every time, or a room in a dungeon. All I see is chagrins of acknowledgement and like, yeah, that's true. Everything you're saying is true, Frank, but I love this game.
It just that stuff doesn't bother me. Like you're looking for little things that are
I
you're
know.
like blowing up over. I'm like, okay, that didn't. I see what you're saying, but it's like fine.
This game
Like
has an 86 Metacritic. That is a travesty. There are so many good games out there that people aren't going to play because this game has the name Zelda on it, and that's what bothers me. And it's not a good game. It's an okay game that has the reputation of Nintendo behind it, and there's way better games people could be playing.
I mean, I'd rather pick on Nintendo for regurgitating stuff they've already done. This is something kind of fresh and new. So I'm willing to praise that over, some of the shortcomings.
So
I just sorry.
I will agree that I think this game is probably a 7 or an 8 as of right now. And I'm looking, Link's Awakening got an 87 on Metacritic, which I think is even worse than this. Like Link's Awakening was fun, but had some major design flaws in it that were almost impossible to bypass without a guide or without previous knowledge of how the game worked in the past.
I think Link's Awakening is actually fun though. This game isn't like obviously there's some subjectivity. Sean does find it fun, like the experimentation. I don't, so it's clearly not a game made for me. I just think from an objective standpoint, there are like observable design flaws in the game that I don't think how any game designer would not or game critic would not be able to point them out because there's been solutions to these design problems in many other games.
Have you guys been reading the reviews? Have people been pointing out any of these things? Because I agree, these are all like issues with the game and stuff we kind of pre-identified before the game even came out as potential issues. And I haven't read any reviews though, so I don't know what people are saying. But yeah, the high Metacritic is a little surprising.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't even get to part of my point for the spoiler. The game knows it's a flawed game. It tells you it's a flawed game because it gives you a sword. If this was actually fun, there would be no need to give the player a sword that you can use every once in a while. It's guaranteed they were like, well, this is okay, but it's not. Well, let's give them a sword.
Yeah, I mean,
let's let them jump high like all games do temporarily. You're reminded how fun real games are.
The sword thing is limited, so obviously they don't want to give it to you all the time. They still want you to have to experiment with the other stuff. But I agree with you. Like, but it's also the same reason they gave you like a little whirlwind thing you can do to like cut grass because it's like that's just a thing you do in every Zelda game as you move through the world. You're chopping down grass, and if you can't do that all the time, something feels weird. So they gave you a way to do that.
And until you get the sword, twirling to cut grass is probably the most fun part of the game, which is not a good sign. Last thing I'm going to say, there is a way to make this game good, and it should follow the template of, why can't I think of Tears of the Kingdom? What's great in Tears of the Kingdom, in my opinion, is very specifically designed challenges in the shrines. I think this game would have been much better if it literally copied Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. And rather than going through dungeons, I think you should have a sword in the regular environment and it's classic Zelda in the overworld. And it's like hundreds of shrines where your sword's taken away. Maybe the rifts are those. And then you have to solve puzzles with these like things you grab in the wild. So it's literally separating the gameplay into two separate areas. And then I would concede I'm solving puzzles once. It's easier to design for, and it's more fun to play. And Nintendo, I just solved the problem with your game.
You should get back into making games, Frank.
Like it seems like a pretty obvious solution to me to make this game more fun.
I mean, I'm open to that solution. Sure, that could be good.
All right, I'm fired up. This game gets me fired up, and I'm a little fired up too. Oh,
I mean, my biggest complaint about the game is just like the story and the like. It does feel a little kiddie. I mean, that's kind of the same with Link's Awakening as well. But like, I find the story and like some of the characters and the dialogue and all that stuff a little more kiddie than Zelda usually is. So.
I agree. Definitely agree. I mean, I'm often think of Cullen's review of Free Guy, And I might apply. Make no mistake, this is a game for children.
Yeah, probably.
Which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I'll wait. I'm definitely probably well, I'm not playing it anymore until I hear back from Sean. I do trust Sean and Huck to some degree. If they keep playing it, I just assume. I just hope. I would have said Sean and Huck. I don't know if Huck's gonna be able to finish it, but if he does,
see. I just looked and it's 35 hours long, which seems long for what it is.
I saw 17 for the main story.
Oh, I just did how long to beat. Maybe it was completion.
Yeah.
Completion
but you guys
run.
both say it's like it gets really good, and I will go back.
Oh yeah, 18.
I just think the first hour, 2 hours is really disappointing. Not a little, really disappointing for Nintendo.
Yeah, I mean, all I can say is from where I am now, like when you get into the overworld and you're a little more free to move around, and like that does add something to it. And there are constantly new, items or enemies that do have interesting new things. So I don't know. Like, I don't know that it's going to have like some major shift that's going to change your mind, but I think it is always adding interesting things to your toolbox along the way.
This game has the same Metacritic as Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, which, if anything, that's a completely way too low a Metascore for that game. That game is fantastic. And they're just getting now, like I said, Ubi's the new EA. So even a game that good is going to feel the penalty.
Yeah. I must say, like, I am a little disappointed when I get to the more open world part. And I understand it's like nostalgia and part of Zelda, but like the fact that you're still going to like the same places that we went to in, N64 Zeldas and, all the other Zeldas that have come out, you're going to see the Gerudo and you're going to see the Zora swim people. Like, okay, yeah, I get it. They live there, but I mean, do you have to like, it seems like even the way they approach it is the same. It's like, oh, you have to go there. Oh, and they don't let any guys in. And they don't let any people in, and it's surrounded by a sandstorm. Like everything is the same as their lore for every game. And it's like a little, I know that's kind of part of the puzzle. You got to kind of figure your way in. But I don't know. It feels like that could be changed. I think that's why I liked Link's Awakening is I don't think they really did that. It was kind of like an older game that didn't just stick to the, tried and true Zelda formula. But this game seems to be going back there all the time. So I don't know. I don't know how far I'm going to get. I am enjoying it for what it is so far, and I want to keep playing it, but I don't know. There's a lot of games coming out. I bought it. I vouchered it.
All right.
So I've got it. I got all my life to finish this thing.
Oh, yeah.
All right. I'm spent on Zelda. Anyone else have anything they need to say about Zelda?
Nope.
Let me know how wrong I am in the comments. YouTube.com/Game Junk. I know everyone's brains are poisoned by Zelda. It's okay. I'm used to it. Just tell me how great this game is. It's not going to change my mind unless Sean and Huck tell me before the end of the year. But Discord links are there as well if you want to chime in on Discord. Unless anyone has anything they need to talk about or dying to talk about, I might say wrap it up.
Sure.
Nope. Okay, so any other stuff we played, we'll kind of table that for next week, including I'd like to play some more of the Metaphor Refantagio demo. It's pretty long. So I'm kind of enjoying it. All right, that's going to do it for this week's show. Sean is on X at Film Junk. Andrew is My Angry Commute and Equilibrium Sis. Thank you for listening or watching. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.